I think they're still the same Browns team I play every year.
Just sailed the ball over the head of Big Ben. A touchdown!
Ball over the middle, it's intercepted.
Another turnover. Delivers the ball. He leaps and scores! The Browns lead 27-0 in the first quarter.
Very disappointing. I hate it for our fans. I hate it for my teammates.
Intercepted by Porter Gustin. This is an amazing story.
When it doesn't end the way you want it to, you're always going to feel it's your fault.
We're here for a reason. There's a new standard, and I keep talking about it. No, I wasn't here for the things that have happened in the past, some of which I was too young to even remember. There's a new standard, and we're going to, try and keep it that way.
Miles, a dominant performance like this, what does it say about who you guys are? Who are the Cleveland Browns right now?
We're the Cleveland Browns. Same old Cleveland Browns.
I don't regret what I said. I said the Browns is the Browns. They came out and, they played a hell of a game.
6 playoff games are in the books, plus the national championship game is tonight. ESPN and ABC, Alabama and Ohio State. So much to get into this morning. Good morning, Stephen A. Good morning, Max. I'm Molly Karen Rose. Fellas, let's dive right into it. Stephen A., and we're going to start with that late night game. I know you're cranky, and that's right where I want to go. Because you know what, Stephen A., it really was a tale of 2 seasons for the Cleveland Browns. Dealing with all that COVID adversity, they show up, they show out, and they send your Steelers packing. So I ask you this morning, were you more impressed by Cleveland or are you more depressed by Pittsburgh?
Well, we know the answer to this question. I'm clearly depressed. I got a new show debuting tonight, and I can't even focus on that right now because I'm just completely depressed at what I saw. I expected to be in a very celebratory mood this morning. Looking forward to discussing football all day long, thinking about my Pittsburgh Steelers, Steeler Nation, the black and gold, the terrible towels, and all of those different things. And I watched the defense go out, greatly assisted by the offense nonetheless, but surrender at the end of the day, 49 points. The first offensive snap of the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers was over the head of what has been Roethlisberger, 6'5", 6'6", Pouncey, a veteran, snaps the ball over his head, and it's a touchdown for the Cleveland Browns. And it just nosedived from there. Big Ben Roethlisberger throwing interceptions all over the place. We see the snap over his head right at that particular moment. They can't even fall on the ball properly. The Cleveland Browns end up falling into the end zone, getting the touchdown. And the Steelers were obviously in a hole. But then what excuse in God's green earth could you possibly have for being down 28-0 in the first quarter? They were getting their butts kicked. It's just that simple. And so as a result of it, it's basically chickens coming home to roost. I told Ryan Clark and others weeks ago, I said I didn't like the way the Steelers were looking. I didn't like the ability without T.J. Watt to get to the quarterback. Obviously, injuries to Devin Bush earlier and then Bud Dupree a little bit later on in the season compromised their ability to get to the quarterback, compromised them in the secondary. We saw all of that. I've continuously lamented the fact that this is the Steelers. As Max Kellerman has pointed out on many occasions with the introductory press conference of Mike Tomlin, his head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers over 14 years ago, run the ball, stop the run. That was the mantra. Well, somebody forgot to tell the Steelers about that over the last 3 years. They've been one of the worst rushing teams in the National Football League. This year, they were the absolute worst, averaging about 84 yards a game. They didn't even get to 60 last night. Their running game was putrid, and we understand for the most part as to why that was, because when you get in such a hole, you got to spend all your time throwing the football, which Big Ben Roethlisberger did. And in the end, what it comes down to is this. Big Ben Roethlisberger, he's not a scrub. He's still a future Hall of Famer. We get all of that. He did throw for over 500 yards last night. We understand that. But those 4 interceptions speak volumes. There's a reason you mentioned Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and guys like that as being on a different level than Big Ben Roethlisberger. Because with every great moment comes a huge mistake. That's what it is. And his lack of mobility, his age and attrition, and the punishment that he has absorbed, the Steelers got to be looking in a different direction moving forward in the future. I'm just really, really disgusted right now. The Steelers, as far as I'm concerned, have made me depressed. And I'm quite sure I speak on behalf of all Steelers fans when I say that's how we feel.
Well, this playoff wild card weekend was so exciting, Stephen A., that I've started to lose my voice. So I'm going to have to keep it as even-keeled as I can right now. But let me just say, I was very impressed with the Cleveland Browns. This game was one up front. And this is why I thought Cleveland was going to win. You had a dominant offensive line on one side of the ball with an ascending quarterback who, when he finally had a head coach, a good head coach and some stability, showed you what he could do, which is to be a franchise quarterback. Didn't look that way for a while, but that's what Baker Mayfield is. On the other side of the ball, an offensive line that couldn't block for the run and didn't give Ben Roethlisberger enough time to let those receivers get down the field even. They had to get rid of the ball lightning fast. And a descending quarterback in Roethlisberger. I thought the Browns would win for that reason, but they exceeded my expectations the way they came out. And when everyone was harping on Kevin Stefanski not being there and what that means in terms of play calling, and Stephen A., I likened it to a great trainer and corner man, right? The work he does in the corner night of the fight, that's some of it. But most of it is the preparation in camp, the discipline, the going over the strategy, the perfecting everything. And that's what I see in this Cleveland Browns team. Stefanski, the play caller, it's nice to have him there. But the culture that he's established, the fact that the Browns come together and came together throughout the season in adversity, the maturity you've heard from Baker Mayfield, when people ran to him and said that you, Stephen A., had these criticisms for him. Remember that? We were listening to what he was going to say, and he said, those guys are doing their jobs. We have a job to do here. We focus on what's inside this building. Every single thing pointed to a maturing franchise. You don't know until they go out there and do it, though. And because of COVID protocols, they were missing guys on their offensive line, which is the strength I just mentioned. And what happened? Did they suffer? Nope. They came together. And the play of an offensive line, to me, is indicative of the culture of the team. Because offensive linemen who play together and have chemistry can be better than guys with just big names or guys with big reputations on an offensive line who don't play together. This Cleveland Browns team played together. Baker Mayfield made good decisions throughout the game. And Stephen A., the big picture is they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs. You realize the last time the Cleveland Browns won a playoff game? They won a playoff game, and then after that, a guy named Baker Mayfield was born. And he was born and grew up and got the quarterback playoff game, and it's against Big Brother in the division. Coming back, remember